Oh boy, Candace Owens has finally lost it and gone off the deep end. She's now saying that John F. Kennedy, who was the biggest supporter of Israel, maybe ever, was killed by Jews. The next story bothers me quite a bit because I used to be a fan of this person, but the comments that came out
Hillary
of her mouth,
Clinton?
I was never a fan. Bad guess, Will Johnson. Your psychic powers are declining. I'm referring to Black commentator Candace Owens. She has come out with some outrageous statements in the last couple of days that are deeply offensive, and they should be to all Americans of all persuasions, religious and otherwise. She said the other day that the United States is being held hostage by Israel, and AIPAC, which is the nonpartisan lobbying group that is formed to support a close alliance between Israel and America, that's all they do, assassinated John Kennedy. And I find that unbelievable. The next segment, we're going to talk about John Kennedy in detail. But Candace went on the air on her own YouTube show. For those of you that don't know who we're talking about, this is Candace. And some of the things she's been saying lately are incredibly unhinged. She had started at Prager University with Dennis Prager. I'm a big fan, conservative commentator, happens to be Jewish. And they parted ways for some reason. From there, she went to Turning Point USA, working with the fabulous Charlie Kirk, and they parted ways. She then went to the Daily Wire, co-founded, I should say, by Ben Shapiro, and Jewish, and they parted ways. And as it came out after that parting of ways, there were numerous allegations of her continual, sometimes subtle, sometimes not subtle, anti-Semitism. She's now on her own without a producer who's independent to say, you shouldn't really be saying that because that's racist or that is anti-Semitic. The lady that she went on the air with, this lady, also got fired by her last job. That's Brianna Joy Gray. She used to be at The Hill, and they fired her because in the middle of interviewing a Israeli hostage that had been gotten out of Gaza, and describing the rapes and the brutality that were perpetrated on her and fellow Israeli women, she rolled her eyes and then cut off the commentary of this woman telling her story on the air. The Hill fired her over that, and they should have, because the subtle and not so subtle commentary invalidating the mass rapes, which, by the way, were all live streamed. There are hundreds of videos proving it, shows that this woman should have been kicked off the air for her repeatedly doubting the sexual violence against Israeli women who were kidnapped and many murdered and had their babies cut out of their stomachs and thrown into ovens and live children microwaved and people having their heads cut off in front of their families. She invalidated all of that. And Candace Owens, on her enormous platform with millions of viewers, that's Candace, put Ms. Gray on her show so together they could agree that Israel is running the United States and AIPAC was behind the assassination of John F. Kennedy. I'm disgusted by this.
Wait a minute. Didn't the information about Kennedy come out that it was the CIA? That's already information that came out. I mean, that was released not too long ago. The only reason why they did it because Bush, Daddy Bush, when he passed, they released all the information because everyone connected with it. You can't arrest anybody. You can't go after anybody after that point. So it had nothing to do with Israel. Had nothing to do with AIPAC. Nothing. Zero. Not a zip.
Well, in our next story, I'm going to go into it deeper. At this point, first of all, I agree with you. You're right. There's an avalanche of information that there was a conspiracy at the highest levels of the American government in 1963 to get rid of Kennedy. Some say it was because of his opposition to the Vietnam War. Some people say it was because he was going to go to the gold standard. He was going to push back on the military-industrial complex that the CIA was in bed with. There's a lot of possible motivation in history of the
Yep.
hundreds of books and the movies that have been put out, not one single source has ever said anything about AIPAC. But
Yeah,
Candace
because if
Owens,
there was something there, it would have been something, right? It would have been a simple one-page document. It would have been something, but there was nothing.
right. The point being is it's insane ramblings of somebody who has just fallen off the deep end. And I'm sorry to see her go
I
because she used
wonder.
to do really good work.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious on, do you think that part of this is because she might be bitter towards, the Daily Wire? You think maybe that's something that she might be a little bitter towards, Shapiro? Is there might be some bitterness going on because, they were going back and forth about, differences of opinion. And now, I think, and I've seen this a lot too, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen this a lot. You have some Jewish people that side with Hamas, and these are liberal Jewish people. These liberals. I mean, because think about it, they all have the same mindset. They have the same mindset, no matter where you are on the planet. This liberalism, they're siding with the stupidity. If she was talking about these liberals, then maybe she should clarify that. Because,
Yeah,
like, being on the outside looking at just
but
really
she's
quick,
not.
being on the outside looking in the United States of America, if we're all like Joe Biden, then that would be wrong for someone to say that. Oh, they're all like Joe Biden, they're all like liberals, Joe Biden. That wouldn't be a true statement. Just because they're in control, they're in power, that wouldn't be a true statement. But you would need to clarify it. But has she clarified it that she's talking about liberals, or she just like do a whole blanket saying Jewish people?
Well, she didn't say Jewish people. She said APAC, which are
Well,
Jews and Christians who
yeah.
work for the alliance between the United States and Israel. And it's a complete, insane, made up, anti Semitic targeting
Yeah.
of a group
Yeah.
that has, for decades, worked on the alliance between America and its closest ally in the Middle East being Israel. And she offers no proof, as is often with her stories.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, her big one last month was the president of France is married to a man.
I saw that.
Who's pretending to be a woman. And the first lady of France has sued for defamation everybody who's making that statement. And I assume, I mean, there's a big law. She's already won a couple lawsuits. And I assume, and Candace said she expects it, to be sued next. And she said she bets her entire career and her entire reputation on the fact that Macron married a man who dresses as a woman. And their children and the children they have were fathered by someone else and mothered by someone else. So you can categorize these statements however you want, but
it kind of sounds
about it the same person.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like we're talking about, the Obamas too.
She hasn't brought that one up yet. That one may be next. That one may be next.